host, introduction to everyone, and then we will start. So we
Yeah.
have Ashwinee here today, who is a known person for everyone. I think if I'm trying to introduce Ashwinee to someone, it's like doing some sin kind of stuff because everyone in Indian safe community know Ashwinee very well. He is the SPCT who is really a charming person who takes care of safe trainings in all kind of safe trainings, and then he is the practitioner who has very much of safe implementation experience, and then a rich knowledge on safe, who has trained more than 2,000 people in safe. That's a great achievement. And then so he is going to talk about safe values today through our Safe Thursday.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
thanks, Ashwinee, for joining us. And then here is your podium.
Thank you. Thanks, Hari. I think it was too much of an introduction for me.
That's very less, actually. It's very less one.
So, yeah, just to give a quick background, Safe Thursday is something me and Preet last year started, last year around May, when we were all hit with the first wave of a pandemic and didn't have too many things to do at home, right? So that's where we started building that one, because earlier it was more a face-to-face interaction. We could meet people, we could inspire and get inspired by some of them as well, right? So that's the intention. Webinars was something we started doing. Later, we stopped calling it as a webinar because by June, July, there were too many webinars, right? So if you want to know cooking, there is a webinar. If you want to know how to hold a needle, there is a webinar, right? So everything started becoming a webinar. So then we thought, how can we add value? In fact, in between, I also started getting onto my SPCT journey. I became a little busy. Preet became a little busy with his consulting assignment. We stopped doing it for some time, thinking that this is not going in the right direction. We are just, somebody is coming, giving some jnana on the webinar, and then nothing comes out of it. We don't care whether one person comes or 100 people come. It's fine, right? So even if there is one person who is really interested to listen and share, that's good. Then December, I finished my SPCT. Then this year again, we started, me and Preet started talking about it. How do we kind of revamp it, redo it in a different way? Then what we hit upon is, instead of telling about SAFE, which everybody knows mostly, or you can go to scaledagileFramework.com and read all the articles. Can we talk about our experiences? Can we talk about a story? Yeah. Story doesn't have to be like, I did this one, I did that one, or transformation. It's about how do I see SAFE in a different perspective. Yeah, this is what we started doing it. Luckily, Hari, then Satyajit, Piyush, many of us, right, from Agilemania, we came together. I work for Cyberban, but at the same time, we collaborate on a lot of things. Cyberban and Agilemania collaborate on our safe transformations and safe training. We started thinking about, how do we bring different flavors? So this is where the Safe Thursday was born. I did take 2-3 sessions where I talked about business agility through a story. I talked about, I even forgot what I talked about. Talked about WSJF in a lighter manner, weighted shortage job first in a lighter manner. So today what I'm going to do is, we will talk about core values. We will try to understand SAFE through core values. Yeah, we will try to understand through core values. This is going to be not a one-sided story of me. Rather, I want it to be a collaborative session, right? I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and no answer is wrong answer in my sessions and classes. So feel free to pitch in, feel free to talk about it. Then let's get on to what is SAFE and how core values are important for SAFE. Yeah, that's how we will do the session today. With that said, I have my first question. I have not prepared any slides. I don't like too many of slides as well. What I do is I just write it on a mirror board. I also have my iPad here. With my bad handwriting, whatever comes to my mind, I'll start writing it here. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. What is core value? Forget about SAFE, forget about everything else in the world, forget Agile for a while, because webinars are too draining. I don't want it to be too draining. Rather, let's think about what is a core value. You can talk from an organization perspective, or you can talk from a personal perspective as well.
Sure, Ashwini. Can I share my thoughts?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So every time I look at values and all, what comes to my mind is what is important, held in high regard. So what is important, held is in high regard, generally won't change much.
Okay.
And then from where we have values, from there we derive the principles. The principles are like fundamental statements based on the above values. From principles, we get practices. So practices are like actions based on principles and values, even our personal life.
Okay. So what you are basically trying to say is first comes the what is important. Once you answer this question, I mean, you come up with a value, which is leading to principle. I'm also writing it as values are greater than principles. Yeah.
Correct.
And principles, I mean, lead to practices, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hi, Ashwini. So what I would probably say when I see what is core value is, I'll probably say is the fundamental attributes. That is what comes to my mind when I see core values.
Okay. Fundamental attribute. Attribute for what?
Basically something that supports our understanding about a certain aspect. So fundamental attribute or fundamental aspects of anything.
Okay. Any other last definition? Again, these are very abstract terms, right? So you can define in your own way, as long as, I mean, it is following some guidelines, isn't it? And that's the beauty of it. And at the same time, that's the hardness of the values and principles as well, right? So it's like saying what is quality, right? It's very, very tough to say what is quality, but if you ask me what is not quality, it's maybe very easy to answer, isn't it? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Suddenly there's I mean, many a times, I mean, what is not a value? Who is a person without a value? You can give a lot of examples, right? Or you can tell, okay, that person doesn't do this one. That's why, I mean, there is lack of value, right? Anyone who has read this book, Zen and the Art of, Art of Maintenance of Motorcycles. So there, I mean, they discuss about what is quality, right? So I think it discusses it for nearly 2 hours. What is quality? And finally, the answer is what is not quality. I can define it. What is quality is very hard to define. Yeah. So all said and done, this is a definition that I somehow liked, right? Again, you can have broader lot of definitions. And again, this is something I really liked it. Values are deeply held convictions that influence your thinking when you are faced with choices, right? Values don't come to fore when you have something which is very clear, right? So it's just, I mean, you just do it, right? When you have something, when you are faced with choices, what choices you want to take, that's where your values comes in, isn't it? Any examples that you can give, I mean, from an organization perspective? And trust me, many of us don't even remember what is our organization value. Those statements are at the entrance of the office. At the reception, at the back of the reception, you typically have your value statements written out, but we don't remember it very well. If any of you remember, thumbs up to you.
Customer first.
Customer first, yeah.
Also,
what does it mean from a, yeah.
Yeah, also, if you look at the IT industry, what was happening from the beginning, first 50 years, everybody's saying, somehow you start doing coding and then testing, somebody will take care. You start doing coding, somebody will do testing some later. So quality is built-in quality concept is not there in IT industry, like which is there in aviation industry or construction industry. Everywhere it is there, because they cannot build a wall and break wall for testing later.
Exactly.
So even today, everybody says built-in quality, but many people are not following. When we say value built-in quality, even our own principle number 4 says that build incrementally with fast integrated life cycle, learning cycles, and test first methodology. People are saying, even if you look at extreme programming and all these things, which are there in the last in 1990 or so, then they came in last 30 years. But even many people say, but they are not following.
Exactly. So again, this also has to do with something, right? So like the eras of technology revolutions, if you see, I mean, the previous era was, I mean, mostly the manufacturing era, right? So where things were mostly straight line, isn't it? Things were mostly straight line. You design, you manufacture, you put it into usage, you check the life quality, then finally, I mean, you are done with it. So we started thinking about software also in the same way, right? So you kind of come up with the requirements, you design it out, you test it out, like you rightly said, Nagesh, that you kind of somebody else is there to test it out, and then finally give it to the customer. If they like it, I mean, you make money, right? So we started thinking in the same direction. But at the same time, what is also happening is manufacturing industry kind of reached a smaller audience. Manufacturing industry kind of reached a smaller audience. That's always like, I mean, I will make 100,000 cars per year, right? So that's nothing more than that. But if you look at software today, at least most companies, I mean, which are successful, are looking at how do we reach the next 1 billion people. They are looking at, I mean, how do we reach the next 1 billion people? We really don't know. Like you rightly said, we really don't know what is quality. What is quality? How do we adhere to it? How do we build in that one? It's always an experimentation. I'm very positive around it, that at least, I mean, we are thinking around it, right? So we are thinking around, this is not the way we need to do it. How do we move forward? How do we actually make it happen? At least we are thinking about it, right? So this is where this convictions, deeply held convictions, that come into place. When we have choices, trust me, in software, we have choices from multiple angles. We have choices in terms of quality. We have choices in terms of, I mean, who's our vendor. We have choices in terms of the geography. We have choices in terms of speed of execution. I don't really have to be physically available, right? I can be anywhere in the world. I can still do things. So when you are faced with these choices, this is where the value definition becomes very, very critical. Any of you want to share a thought around a value of your company and or whatever you have seen, right? And how did it actually help you in doing the right things in the right way? Both things, right? So doing the right things is easy, but doing it in the right way is sometimes very difficult.
Yeah, one thing what comes to my mind, Ashwini, is like integrity. From there, we get the credibility. So as a software professional, in every meeting, every ceremony, when we speak, many people will listen, youngsters will listen, and our credibility is at stake. I think from my organization, what all I have learned for last 16 years is like integrity and credibility, how we build credibility with the teams when we do anything. Leadership and walk the talk, and we have to demonstrate leadership in everything what we do.
I don't know whether spellings are right or wrong. Still, I'm making it. So how does it help you? Sure, please go ahead. One of you wanted to talk, please go ahead. I mean, I'll ask my question later.
Okay, so in our company, we have defined something like, moving from volume to value. So that is the mantra for our company. So mostly mostly in concentrating on the digital things. How we can contribute more on the digital values. So that we can acquire more customers.
Sure. Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah. Any other story before we move forward? I know, yes, I mean, it's very hard to talk at 7:30 in the evening, but I just wanted to keep it lighter. I'm coming to SAFe in a while, so I don't want to keep it very theoretical on SAFe alone because I'm not selling SAFe anywhere. One last story before we move. No, we are good to move. Okay, like every framework has a value definition, right? Anybody want to talk about a value from any of the frameworks that you know, like Scrum or Kanban or anything? And I remember this CC4 from Scrum: courage, commitment, focus, openness, and respect. Yeah. Why is it important for any framework to have value? Even Agile Manifesto has value.
Correct, Ashwin. I agree with you. Even if you look at our own Agile Manifesto, what we all say it's way of life or way of work. Like individuals and interactions over the process and tools, working software, comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to the change over following plan. I mean, I believe this is also kind of values and value system what we follow as all team members, right?
Yeah. Cool. So why they're important for any framework? I mean, for company, we know they make money out of it. They have to adhere to something. As a person, I have some individual values which I adhere to because that's what I believe in. That's what keeps me encouraged and I mean kind of fresh or whatever it is. Why we need values for a framework? What's your thought?
Yeah, that's really a very tough question. That's not a very easy question at all. Very complex question to answer. Because every time when we are dealing with people, whether it is Scrum team or Kanban team or XP team or Agile Release Train, all the teams, we are dealing with people. They are normally people are really complex in nature because they're intellectual people and brainy people. We are dealing with brains. When you are talking to 10 people, we are talking to brainy people. We are very intellectual, brainstorming people. So the problem here is that when somebody is not agreeing, somebody is not accepting the point of view of others. Normally it happens. 10 intellectuals, 10 brains, no one will agree with others. Generally it happens in IT industry. So every time there is confusion, there is a chaos, there is ambiguity, there is a mess. Better be focused to our values and principles so that we all can adhere by sharing the values and principles and the examples related to that. We can bring people towards an alignment.
Yeah. I mean, I call it as a shared value. I call it as a shared value, right? So typically when you hire in a company, usually HR talks about it, right? I mean, the people function talks about it. We need a cultural fit, or I mean, we need the right attitude and aptitude. Not to say that some attitudes are bad and some attitudes are good, but see, I mean, if you are in Tesla, some attitudes are good. The same attitudes, it may not be good in Apple, right? The same attitudes may not be good in a Target. The same attitudes may not be good in like Infosys or Cognizant, right? So we need to have that shared values and understanding. So for me, what matters is the values of a company. If I look at it and my personal values, is there a match? Is there an alignment of those values, right? So that's what we want to see when we talk about the core values. So this is where the frameworks also, again, I'm not here to bash any framework, or I'm not here to say one framework is better than the other one. It doesn't matter, right? So all that matters is what are the values this framework talks about and how does it talk about? Again, like Nagesh, I mean, you talked about it's about you have these values. I mean, you kind of derive your principles to kind of help those values, or I mean, achieve those values. And those principles leave you with how do you actually do it through the practices. So in a nutshell, what I believe is, if you feel these values actually closely associate with my organization, or these values, I mean, closely associate with what I believe, right? So then it makes sense. If you are executing in Scrum, and if you don't believe courage, commitment, focus, openness, and respect, you are not really doing Scrum. You could do the events, I mean, you could do the practices, I mean, you could even kind of adhere to the principles of like transparency, inspect, and adapt. But if you don't adhere to the core values, or if you don't believe in the core values that Scrum talks about, you're not really doing Scrum. Yeah. It's not, again, you might be doing all the events, you are not really doing it. Likewise, SAFe starts with these 4 core values. I think, I mean, anybody who has gone through any of the SAFe courses, we start with the core value. And why SAFe, what SAFe? I mean, after that, even in the SAFe Agilist class, or even in the SSM or any other classes, we start with the core value. Sadly, core values, I mean, we can't talk too much about it. And what we do is, it's one slider, we talk about the core values, get it done very quickly, and then move to principles, move to something else, move to practices. People are also interested in practices, right? So trust me, I mean, all the people are interested mostly on the practices, because that's what gets them the daily bread. That's what gets them the job. That's what makes them perfect in some ways. And that's what, I mean, they move forward with. Yeah. SAFe talks about 4 core values. As we see here on the big picture, these are the 4 core values. How I remember is BPAT, built-in quality, program execution, alignment, and transparency. So that way, I mean, you can easily remember BPAT, right? So that's how I kind of remember. Becomes easy for me. So let's talk about each one of them. And what are the SAFe principles, practices, and I mean, kind of the ceremonies that we have, and all that we do in SAFe, I mean, which kind of aligns to that particular core value. I'm not digging deeper, but at the same time, running at a very high level and the skim level. And also why transparency is on the right side, or I mean, why transparency is a vertical thing, not a horizontal thing. Let me also debate. But at the same time, these are my biased opinions, right? So whatever I'm going to talk about from now on, it's my biased opinion. Don't tell anyone that Ashwinee told this one, that's why SAFe is like this. Yeah, these are my opinions. I want you to form your own opinions as well, because only when we form our opinions, we will start having those healthy debates, right? Otherwise, I mean, it's like Ashwinee told this one, that should be right. It's not the intention. Yeah, we will have some debates, discussions, and we will move forward from that. Fair enough?
Yes, yes, Ashwinee.
Yeah. Let's talk about built-in quality. So let me ask a question. Why is it a horizontal thing, not a vertical thing?
Maybe. Can I give it a try, Ashwinee?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think it's horizontal in the sense, like look at the product owner, collaboration with the triad, like tester and developer, when they start working on the behavior-driven development to start with. In every iteration,
Sure.
every user story, the first activity, I believe, we will do either Lean UX or HDD or BDD. And then followed by the testers will do their BDD activity and TDD activity. And then architecture will pitch in, and architect will do their job, a DBA will do their job, and it will go on and on, because it's a continuous exploration, integration, and all, you know. I think it's a kind of horizontal piece of activity till it goes to deployment.
Yeah.
After deployment,
I call it as please. And I also call it as on the ground activities, right? So these are all grounded activities, in the sense everybody in the organization has to do it on their way, right? So if it is HR, it's about how do I hire the right person? How do we make sure that they are compensated well and thinking about the purpose of the organization? How do we make sure that they are moving in the right direction? how do we make sure that we are making sure to give them the what you say, the gist of what they are doing right, what they are not doing right, how can they improve their improvement plans, how can we do it. If it is marketing, how do we make sure that our marketing campaigns are on time, they're getting money for us, how do we make sure it's in the right market, right? So it's on the ground activities. Built-in quality is on the ground activities. And like Deming said, if you are inspecting for a quality after fact, it's a disaster. It's a wastage of time. You can't build, you can't improve the quality, you can't build the quality by inspecting it, right? Rather, you have to think about how can I build from the smallest piece, right? That I start. In fact, one of my friend says this one, technical coach, he says, any self-respecting developer will write unit test cases. It's like housekeeping. It's like simple housekeeping in simple hygiene. Why do you wake up in the morning and brush your teeth? Why do you wake up and take a bath? Why do you wake up and take some time for your personal hygiene? Built-in quality is that one, right? Built-in quality is that ground level thing that you might ask, what happens if I brush once in 3 days? It's okay, it's perfectly okay. But at some point in time, you will have a tooth decay, right? When you have a tooth decay, you can't really trace it back, right? So you can't really, you have to take a reactive actions. Rather, built-in quality is a proactive thing that we want to go to, so that we are moving in the right direction. That's again my biased opinion on the built-in quality. Yeah. Again, SAFe does it at every level. At a team level, you think about TDD, Lean UX, teams working together. At a train level, you have BDD. You have a collective ownership, making sure that single backlog at the program level, and even at a portfolio level, if you think about it, right? SAFe gives you, quick, very stringent guidelines on calculating the VSDF or calculating what is priority at the initiative level itself. Making sure that there is a business case for it, making sure that there is an MVP for it, making sure that compliances are taken care, right? So a lot of things at each level. It's a on the ground job. Yeah. Let's come to program execution. Again, it is a horizontal thing. What is your viewpoint on program execution? And like I said, it's also a horizontal thing like built-in quality. What is your viewpoint on program execution?
Yes, actually, program execution also like horizontal in the sense like all 125 people, all 10 to 12 teams, everybody need to come with proper planning, understanding. Maybe at least 1 or 2 months before preparation is required for this. So definitely we have to do like value stream mapping workshop and the prioritization workshop and any all other like center of excellence, LACE, all these activities. Everybody has to do their job. Only then you as a RTE will get into program increment planning for program execution, all those things. Only then it is possible. Definitely, everybody's contribution is required. So I definitely feel that it's a horizontal kind of responsibility.
Yeah. I also, I second your point. At the same time, for me, it is also about we have to leave the siloed approach, right? I can't think about myself. I can't think about my team alone, right? I have to now think about my train. I have to think about my organization. I have to think about my portfolio, right? So for me, it is also about the people who understand the core values. If you look at the big picture, right? They understand the core values. They understand Lean Agile way of working. They understand the SAFe's principle. And while implementing, they make sure that all of them are in place, right? So they make sure that all of them are in place. So this is where the program execution comes in. This is about not me, this is about we, right? So just M, if you can make it the other way, it becomes W, and it's not me, it's we. So when we start thinking about ourselves as a program, if you start thinking about ourselves as a collective unit, this is where we become better as a group. Yeah. And it becomes even more important at in a framework like SAFe, because again, I'm not saying Scrum is easy, but at the same time in Scrum, I mean, you have say 5 to 10 people, mostly some common understanding is that teams live together, breathe together and work together. So over a period of time, I mean, it may be, I mean, easy to think about they becoming a high performing team. The moment 125 people, which is typically 5 to 12 teams, 50 to 125, 5 to 12 teams, when they come together, multiple geographies, multiple cultures, I mean, multiple thoughts, multiple viewpoints, how do we make sure that they are all running in the same direction is about program execution, right? We want to run together. This is where the program execution piece comes in. Any last thoughts on built-in quality and program execution before we move to the vertical ones?
Just one point, Ashwinee. Have you, based on your vast experience, you traveled across the continents and you worked with so many global corporations. IT industry is the only industry today they're talking about built-in quality. No other industry, whether it is manufacturing, aviation, retail, or healthcare, they already did, for last years, 100 years back. Nobody, explicitly talk about, guys, please take care of quality. IT industry is the only industry suffering even today. Look at TDD came 30 years ago, nobody's bothering today. BDD came in 10 years ago, nobody's implementing today. Do you agree? Why IT industry is the only industry suffering with this built-in quality?
I have a funny answer. I mean, I'll tell you, English is our problem. Not as a language, not as a language, like you rightly pointed out. I mean, most of us are with the IQ of 120 plus or 130 plus. That's where we try to prove our points, right? Again, we kind of get on to very nice language, beautiful language, which is diplomatic, which is so on and so forth. That's where, I mean, we start talking about things, but rather not about doing things, right? Again, you might call out me saying that, okay, doing agile is not the right thing, being agile is the right thing. But to be agile, you have to do something, right? So we all talk about being, but I mean, we never do things, right? We don't want to get our hands dirty. Like this statement or not, we don't like to get our hands dirty. We want someone else to get their hands dirty and we want to reap the benefit out of it.
Correct.
And whatever said and done, Toyotas and Fords, right? They had workers, I mean, who came from very meager economical background. All they wanted is 3 times food. They were happy to get a job at Toyota. They were happy to get a good salary. They kind of listened to their superiors. Whatever said and done, right? So they did that one. Yeah. In fact, one of my fellow SPCTs says this one. If you have a dog, you buy a dog. Second day onwards, you feed the dog for 1 day. Second day onwards, the dog kind of believes you, right? Believes you for life. We people don't do that one. We start thinking too much, isn't it? I mean, we find, again, and I'm digressing a little bit, I mean, we start finding out why some person is talking about something, right? That's where, I mean, we kind of don't believe, or, I mean, we kind of think that the other person has a negative convention or negative thoughts, right? Again, I'll bring out, I mean, one sentence from Indra Nui's, as you know, I mean, she was the head of Pepsi, right? For her interview. Somebody asked her, again, this was in Infosys, when I was a part of Infosys, she visited Infosys, and somebody asked her, how did you make sure that, I mean, you are able to work with so many vast amount of culture, and I mean, you are also a lady and with guys around you. Pepsi's board had only her as a lady, right? I mean, at one point in time. How are you able to do it? She said only one sentence. Whenever somebody talks, I always assume positive intent. Yeah. I might not like what they are saying, but I always assume positive intent, right? So when you assume that positive intent, that what we call about built-in quality and program execution comes in naturally. But can we do it overnight? I don't know. And that's where, I mean, I think vertical pillars of ours comes in handy next. I will connect to that one. Yeah. Next,
Sure.
let's talk about EA, which is alignment. What's your story of alignment? Why we need alignment? Why it is vertical line?
Vertical line, but two ways, right?
Yeah.
Actually, one is top down and bottom up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is, so when I'm say if I'm at the say level 4 or level 3 in the organization, say means I'm the fresher or just maybe at 2 years of experience in the industry, but I need somebody to guide me what I have to do. So then I'll be aligning to my next position. So that might be a technical or people manager or whatever it is. Then that person needs some other what do you call? Again, they need the directions. So directions might be technical execution, or maybe organization culture, or aligning to different, say for example, engineering culture, security culture, or different things. So I mean, I'm taking very vast. So alignment is very important, a very important vertical. So where each person will hold responsible each other. I will be doing this one. I'll be monitoring you. You will be doing this one. I will also monitor you. So it's like a what do you call? Peer, subordinate, superintendent. Yeah, that's what my thoughts.
Yeah. And that is where, I mean, you also see it on the left pane where those roles and responsibilities are called out, right? So you have team level roles and responsibilities, program level, and the portfolio level. Again, these are not titles. One thing many people talk about is SAFe as, I mean, hierarchy. They are not hierarchy. SAFe is not recommending a hierarchy, but rather, so you can't do everything. You want to do everything, but can you do everything? Not really, right? So you need to have responsibilities, right? It's about, I mean, what am I good at and what are my responsibilities, how I hold each other responsible as well, right? Vimal rightly called out, we watch each other, right? So we call out, okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, or I mean, this is what is expected out of us. When we do that one, at the same time, we also make sure that we hold each other responsible and accountable. Yeah, that's the alignment part of it. It's not just, okay, leader coming on the stage and talking about, okay, this is our vision and a mission, I mean, let's do it. Yes, I mean, that is one part that's very, very important. At the same time, they also listen to the ground, what people are talking about, what people are struggling with, what are the impediments, how do we remove them? Trust me, when we talk about a PA planning in SAFe, when we talk about a portfolio sync in SAFe, we ask for people to be part of it, because not just because, I mean, they hold the responsibility and they hold the title, or they kind of get the paycheck at the end of the month. It's about making sure that right people are in the room. It's about making sure that we are working on the right priorities. It's about making sure that two parts of clarity and competency, both are there. Only when clarity is there provided, when the competency is there with the people, we will be able to align to our larger goals, right? It's very easy to talk about vision, but how can we do it? I mean, that's when, I mean, we need to align. Yeah, that's where, I mean, it kind of becomes vertical. When we say vertical, it is not just top down or bottoms up. It runs both the ways, right? It runs both the ways. It's like a train running between two cities, right? So at one time it goes the one way, the other time it has to come the other way, right? So it has to be both ways. Any parting thoughts on alignment?
Is it also like Ashwinee? Alignment is vertical in the sense, I am a team member. Like every individual need to be associated with a team. Like 10 teams are there. I am a team member. What is my role in PI planning? What is my understanding? Do I have visibility about backlog? Visibility do I have? If I am part of value stream mapping, what is my role? So if me as an individual, if I know myself, what are my roles and responsibilities about my understanding, my visibility, my clarity, definitely it is the alignment which will be like vertical in a team member kind of responsibility.
Sure. Exactly. That's where, I mean, if you remember in the PA planning, we start setting the business context first. We don't tell, okay, what needs to be done as a feature, right? I mean, we start setting with the, okay, this is the business context. This is where we operate. Then we set, okay, these are the features and I mean, roadmap that we have from a product management perspective. Then we come to the technicalities and say, okay, these are the development practices we need to kind of, I mean, adhere to, right? So that clarity should be there within the team so that, I mean, there is an alignment between what is organization expecting, what is my team expecting, what my particular role expects, and as an individual, how can I actually do it, right? It's all of them.
I like to quote analogy, Ashwinee.
Sure.
For alignment, if you look at, I'll just give an example. So basically, you have this high-end cars, which has the autonomous driving. If you look at all the aspects of, the wheels, the spinning of the wheels, the direction in which it spins, the transmission, the steering, and end of the day, who is driving, all of them have to be aligned so that you can steer the car without in the right direction and without bumping into any obstacles. So basically, if you look at it, all of them have to be in the same process of understanding so that you don't go into any kind of collision. So that is why alignment is a streamlined function, which is very important for the company, the organization.
Exactly. In fact, I mean, the SAFE article on alignment starts with, if the wheel alignment is bad on a car, I mean, how much ever good your engine is, transmission is, I mean, it doesn't work out, right? So a simple thing like a wheel alignment screws up your car, right?
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that analogy. Yeah. Let's come to the transparency. Transparency also looks like a vertical thing. Why? And what is transparency? What do you mean by transparency? Does transparency means everybody knows everything?
So transparency, according to me, is something that is, open as an information radiator across the company, and people, understand what people are doing at the bottom, what the developers are doing, what the execution team is doing, and the execution team is also understanding what the leadership is, looking at in terms of the business opportunities, the business value statements, and so on and so forth. So each of them have an understanding. So in my classes, I coin a particular term, zoom in and pan out. So when necessary, the people at the top need to zoom in to understand what is going on the ground level, and pan out in the sense people should have that capability to understand the higher level functions, not just at their code level, but where it fits into the entire ecosystem. They need to understand so that it is properly oiled.
Again, I mean, we do it through making process visible. I mean, making sure that value stream identification is done even before, I mean, we launch a train, so that, I mean, we have a right understanding, right? But at the same time, trust me, transparency doesn't mean that everybody knows everything, right? That's also not required, right? So what happens at the portfolio level, certain people know to certain extent, right? So till say, I mean, MEP is decided, maybe, I mean, only few people know. That's perfectly fine. As long as the people on the ground know when we will be able to see certain things, it's perfectly fine. Transparency also is being very open about it, right? Transparency is not that everybody's salary is known to, it doesn't work out. Yeah, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. Transparency is also not that what are the things our company is going to do next, right? I mean, some of them could be, I mean, very secret endeavors as well, right? I mean, if you think about Apple, when iPhone was getting developed, others in the organization didn't even know, but at the same time, they knew we are going to do something big. It's very, very important that we keep it secret. Yeah. Transparency is also that one, being open about, okay, we are doing something big. It is very, very secret for us. So we are not going to tell you. Only 5 people in the organization know. That's also transparency. Transparency is not telling openly that, okay, we are trying to build iPhone. I mean, this is how it is going to change the world. Yeah. It's also about being open and honest about what we know, what we don't know, what we are going to share, what we are not going to share. Yeah. Information overload is not what transparency is. Transparency is also right information to the right people at the right time, and everybody knowing where they can get the information is transparency. Does it make sense?
Yeah, triple R.
Yes, Ashwini. Is it also like from LPM to large solution to program level to the team? Let's say everybody uses one single tool, like Jira or any other ALM tool.
Exactly.
So everybody is able to visualize their work. What is my work? What is my contribution? Is it like Kanban? Like Kanban internally, I view it as a Kanban, like visualization, flow of work. Am I able to do my work, and what is my work? Let's say if I am a tester, if there is a defect, I should be able to tell, guys, I forgotten to test this, so it's a defect. So defect for me is somebody who forgot to do testing. So people should be able to openly go and tell, this defect is because of I forgot to test.
Yep. That's what I just marked it out. You have a connected Kanbans here. So even the smallest amount of work you do here, you can actually tell what are you trying to do, right? So which initiative is actually getting hampered by the work that I'm doing, right? So there is that level of transparency in terms of knowing, what are you trying to do? Yeah, definitely, yes. Any last story before we close?
Yeah, you can add triple R here.
Yeah. What are those things?
Yeah,
so
right
what
information. Right information. You said right information, right people.
Yeah. Right time.
Right time.
Yeah. Again, even when you are building a product, we say this one, time to market is about right product at the right time to the right customer, right?
Right customer. Yeah.
So the triple R is, again, the problem statement any organization will be facing today, right? So how do we build the right product? Some people know. How do you build it at the right time? Again, luck also has to favor you. And who is the right customer? That's a very tricky and tough question that we need to answer. Yeah.
Yes, Ashwini, it's also happening that way. The youngsters or the junior most team members in a safe team are very fortunate these days. They are in a room where CEO is there. They're in a room where enterprise architect is there. They're in across the same table where RT is there, or they're involved in estimation. They know the architecture. They are getting experience, exposure to everything happening in a large team, which was not happening before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Again,
that
the
way,
culture also is, many.
Everybody is being respected.
Yeah. Many organizations, if you look at it, they work like startups, right? So most programs work like startup. There is a level of autonomy that is there. I'm very positive around our industry as well. We are also, again, most of the organizations are also now thinking about human behavior, human psychology, and how people work together, collaborate together, right? Luckily, that's a good thing that is happening in our industry. Nobody is, kind of pushing you to do things. Rather, if you have a good idea, if you can articulate it well, there is always a chance of you being there. With that said, this is the final, like a slide that I have. Thank you from Agilemania and Cyberman for participating. At the same time, if there are any questions, we have some more time, 5 minutes. And you can always connect to me on LinkedIn, and we can share, we can discuss, we can get onto a call for whatever you want to do. And if you want a theory, you can always come to my classes. Just a bit of sales pitch. Not really, right? So again, community is more important than the classes. We all attend classes and we get better at it, but this community and building this community is very, very important.
So
Ashwini, like the behavior-driven development, the human-centric design, the lean UX, the test-driven development, they're all 100% free. No need to invest 1 rupee on it. However, they are totally free. Why do you think so? They are not taking off. Why do you think so? They are not picking up. Why do you think so? People are not grabbing it and getting benefit out of these valuable things?
Because they are tough. Because they demand discipline, right?
Yeah.
Sir, I mean, you are a PhD, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How many years it took for you?
It took around 4 years, Ashwini.
Yeah, 4 years of your life, which is like nearly more than 10% of your productive life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yes.
at the end of it, I mean, are you guaranteed something?
Absolutely not.
I mean, my SPCT is also something like that, right? So, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be with the, right people at the right time and stuff. That's always there. It took me around, 3.5 to 4 years from the date I thought, okay, this is a good path, to the time I became one. And there was no guarantee that I'll become one. And I mean, I can always feel disheartened, isn't it? But if you think about companies like Facebook, I mean, why they survive, why they thrive, Facebook, Google, Amazon, whatever it is, why they thrive, they invest heavily, their leadership invests heavily. At the same time, they hire people who are culturally fitting to those organizations. They don't crib about work, but they ask for work, right? So at the same time, and again, maybe, I mean, mostly we have people who are not fit for our industry in our industry. I mean, sadly, right?
Yeah. And many of our friends said that SPCT is equal to 3-4 PhDs. It is, that's it.
That's true to a large extent, but I'm always happy to again mentor anyone, I mean, who wants to go on that path. I mean, I also believe this one, Nagesh. I mean, it's always a self-discovery journey that we have. Maybe I start a journey on SPCT after half of the time I realize that this is not my path. I want to get on to something more useful. Why not, right? I think, I mean, I have had multiple discussions with Naveen. I've had multiple, again, I'm calling out because he's one of my mentors. And we have had multiple discussions around, am I doing the right thing, right? So is it the right way, right? Or do I need to do something differently, right? We get so many people who are willing to help us, right? So when you get onto these paths, I think, I mean, it's true for your PhD, it's true for any of our degrees or, I mean, whatever we have. When we get onto that path, we get kind of touched with so many people. If we can listen to them, right? I mean, that's a criteria. We don't listen, right? So we talk. So if you can listen to some of them, there is so much, I mean, we can learn from them, and then we set on our own path, right? And we find out our own path.
Correct. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I didn't talk too much about SAFe while it being a SAFe Thursday. But when for me, right, I mean, in any of the classes, inspiration comes from somewhere else, right? I mean, it doesn't come from the framework. It doesn't come from the slides that are there on the wall, but rather some words or some sentences somebody speaks. That's where inspiration comes for me.
Sure. The intention is,
if I'm able to, if I'm able to tell, sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the way you speak and share the data honestly from your heart, the intention speaks a lot that you wanted to help people. You wanted to help the community across the world, share our knowledge. The intention is very clear. That is really fantastic, Ashwinee.
Sure. Thank you. I think, I mean, I believe the 15 plus people that were there on the call, their intentions are also same, right? So they want to share, they want to gain, or they want to listen, they want to do one thing better from tomorrow, right? What we are doing today, one thing that we want to do better tomorrow, if we are able to inspire each other on that one, nothing like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
thanks a lot. Ashwinee. With that said, this is the last thing. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hope we all enjoyed each other's conversations, and do watch out for Agilemania and Cyber1 handles for our initiatives. SAFe Thursday is one of them. We are about community, right? I mean, while we have commercial intentions on running training, I mean, being in the consulting industry, we need our 3-time food. but at the same time, our intention also is to build this community and become better at what we do, right? End of the day, like Nagesh talked about in the initial, when we talk about built-in quality, when we talk about Scrum, when we talk about Safe, when we talk about Agile, there should not be bad intentions. We need to have good intentions. We need to have our priorities in life in the right direction. That's what we intend to do with these events. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
Thank you, Ashwinee. Thank you, Hari.
it was very good.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.